When one compares the two options that Rashi provides regarding the gift that Yosef sent to his father Yaakov, the first option, Yayin Yashan, the second, Risin Shel Pul, split peas, one cannot fail to notice that with respect to the Yayin Yashan, Rashi adds a justification as to why he chose aged wine as the gift, namely, Shadad Zakenim Nocha Hemenu. Aged wine is something that calms the mind of the elderly. In contrast, with respect to the second option, Grisin Shel Pul, Rashi does not provide a reason, and while there are those, such as the Gur Aryeh, who extrapolate and carry over the reason that Rashi provides for Yayin Yashan also to the Grisin Shel Pul, that, as with Yayin Yashan, split beans have a physical benefit to the elderly. The weak link in this reading of the Gur Aryeh and others is that either you provide no reason and leave it up to the reader to determine what is it about Yayin Yashan and the Grisin Shel Pul that were appropriate for Yosef to send to his father, or, alternatively, just as Rashi has provided a reason for the Yayin Yashan, he should also have provided a reason for the Grisin Shel Pul, which leads the Rebbe to suggest that while both were of benefit for Yaakov, the benefit of the Grisin Shel Pul differed in essence to that of the Yayin Yashan. Yayin Yashan provided a physical benefit to Yaakov, whereas the Grisin Shel Pul was much more subtle and provided a symbolic and psychological message to ease the mind of Yaakov. To appreciate the symbolic message, we should look at the sequence of Pasukim regarding the return of the brothers to Yaakov and informing him of the fact that Yosef was still alive. In Pasuk 24 we are told that Yosef instructs his brothers Al tirgazu baderech, for which, as we noted previously, Rashi provides us with three options regarding their return journey to Yaakov. From Pasuk 26 to the end of the Perek, we have the narrative that describes the reaction of Yaakov upon hearing from his sons that Yosef was firstly alive, and furthermore, he was a ruler b'chol Eretz Mitzrayim, over the entire land of Egypt. Yaakov's response to this information was one of disbelief and denial. Ki lo ha'emin lahem, he didn't believe them. It was only after he becomes aware of the agalot, the wagons that Yosef had sent, that Vatachi Ruach Yaakov Avihem, Yaakov's spirit, once again comes alive. The Chumash does not mention what was so special about these wagons. The Perek concludes with, firstly, a name change from Yaakov to Yisrael, who acknowledges and accepts the fact that Od Yosef B'ni Chai, that his son is still alive, and he makes a decision to Elcha ve'er'eno b'terem amut, before I die, I wish to travel to Egypt and see my beloved son. Although the Chumash is not a historical novel, most of the emotion and the day-to-day details are not included, but in this narrative there's an obvious glaring omission. From Pasuk 21 to 24 we have Yosef's instructions to the brothers regarding Yaakov. 25 to the end of the Perek, Yaakov's reaction to that information, and in the next Perek we have Yaakov traveling to Egypt to be reunited with Yosef. Human nature dictates that sometime before Yaakov's accepting the fact that Yosef was still alive and the emigration into Egypt, he would seek answers to two crucial questions, both of which undoubtedly would sour the joy and elation that he was now experiencing. The first, how did Yosef ultimately get to Egypt to become a ruler in that country? And secondly, as ruler in the land of Egypt, Yosef could have and should have made contact with his aging father to let him know that he was still alive, and thereby releasing him from the anguish associated with not knowing whether his son was alive or dead. So, despite the joy of discovering that Yosef is still alive, there was the reality that Yaakov needed to now deal with, namely the anger he may have against his sons for their role in the disappearance of Yosef, and secondly, his anger and possible resentment against Yosef for not attempting to make any contact to let him know that he was still alive. To allay this bittersweet situation, Rashi suggests that there was a symbolic message. The symbolic message, according to the Rebbe, was embedded in the Grisin Shel Pul.